truly excited for Sunday. Seriously, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not joking. I know it's sometimes difficult for some of you people to determine when I'm being serious and when I'm screwing around, but I'm actually excited to go to NRG Stadium for a change on Sunday. If you do have a tailgate, holler. Slide in the DMs. I would like to be nice and lubed up before I go into the stadium. What, Sean? That was an uncomfortable face that you just made. Just gonna get lubed up. Yeah. That's what Tom Brady says about fans before a football game. Go get lubed up.
Okay. If Tom Brady said it, then
yeah.
You know,
this isn't Tom Brady and Giselle talking about using coconut oil. This is Tom Brady saying before you go into a stadium, get lubed up.
Did he say that to like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills? Like, hey, get lubed up, guys. It's gonna be a long game.
I don't think he said it to them.
Oh, okay.
He said it to the Patriots fans.
Oh, okay.
Before the game to get lubed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, never mind. Different direction.
I know exactly what you're saying here. This is not the coconut oil thing. Look that up for yourself if you want. Anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited for the game. And part of it's because I think the Texans are going to win this one. I think they're going to win it fairly convincingly. I think they match up great with Indianapolis. And I do think if I had to pick between Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud for Sunday, I would pick Anthony. I guess I can only throw right Richardson. Anthony right wing Richardson. Anthony AR-15 Richardson. Anthony, take this gun from my dead cold hands Richardson. I think he's playing a little bit more confidently, but I think that there is more, even with the injuries the Texans are dealing with of course, a banged up Jimmy Ward, a banged up Jalen Petrie. Your safety tandem might not be playing in this game. Some banged up offensive linemen and questions about who's going to be on the offensive line and who's not going to be on the offensive line. Because if you take a look at what the Colts did Sunday against the Jaguars, they could not run the football at all. Seriously. Again, Deion Jackson, their leading running back, had 13 carries for 14 yards and lost 2 fumbles. If you're the Colts, can you even afford to run the ball in this game? And if you go back to what the Texans did against the Ravens, they held Baltimore's running backs largely in check. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins had the awful injury, but Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, they didn't really do much of anything. And honestly, the Ravens' best runs were on plays that broke down where Lamar Jackson took off. So you feel pretty good, at least right now, about the Texans' run defense compared to last year. And you feel even better about their matchup against a non-existent Colts running game that doesn't have Jonathan Taylor. So then it really becomes a matter of this. Defensively, a Texans defense that played pretty well last week, all things considered, not a lot of help from their offense. Can the Texans defense stop Anthony Richardson from throwing the ball to Michael Pittman? Because that's what he's going to try to do all game long. And what I'm wondering about when it comes to Michael Pittman is if Derek Stingley Jr., who had a very good offseason, who had a very good, I think, first game of the year, 6 foot tall, 190 pounds he's listed at, is he going to be able to be a challenge for 6'4", 225-pound Michael Pittman? This is why you drafted Stingley 3rd overall. You drafted him 3rd overall to take a receiver like Pittman completely out of the game. And I don't know if the Texans decide to do something else, if they put Shaquille Griffin on him, who's a slightly bigger corner in terms of his actual weight, or if they decide to put Steven Nelson on Pittman, but Nelson's an inch shorter than Stingley. The game's going to be won 100% based off of whether or not the Texans can cover/erase Michael Pittman. And honestly, I want to say that I believe in Derek Stingley to do it, but I also have to see it. I feel like if this was Sauce Gardner going up against Michael Pittman, I could confidently say, yeah, I think Sauce Gardner is going to give Michael Pittman some issues. But with Stingley, I don't know if I can say that yet. I want to be able to say it, and I think really that's going to determine this entire game. Because if Stingley does well against Michael Pittman, this is probably going to go pretty well. Honestly, you know what's funny? Last night watching the Thursday Night Football game, I thought Darius Slay actually did a decent job against Justin Jefferson. And then at the end of the game, you take a look at Justin Jefferson's stat line, and it's absolutely insane.
It's like 10 catches, 150 yards.
Yeah, Sean. And it's funny because last year when this same matchup happened, they actually the Eagles got the better of Justin Jefferson. Jefferson was all pissy after the game. This game, Jefferson's saying, I cost my team because I extended the ball at the goal line for a great rule, and the ball came out of my hands, and it was a touchback. Protect the ball, never fumble ever. But I think the game's going to be 100% determined by how Stingley does against Michael Pittman. The Texans' offense, I don't really know what to make of it with just the musical chairs on the offensive line. But I did think that this was very good to hear from offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick yesterday. A lot of times coaches, they're just going to give you BS when they're in front of a microphone at the podium. They're not going to be truthful. Just like filler word, cliche. But someone asked him about really a lack of commitment to running the football, establishing the run. They got away from running the football completely down the stretch of that game, which understandably so, that the game seemed to have gotten out of hand. And Bobby Slowick actually owned up to it and said, yeah, I kind of effed that up.
Again, I always especially this last week, to me, everything as a starting point comes back to me. I wanted to stick with the run longer, and I got away from it there at the end of the game. DP should touch the ball more than he did. I don't think anyone in here has any question about that. I mean, we all want to see Dameon run. So that's definitely something we want to do. Mix in Motor, mix in Boone, mix in Dare, all those guys. And that's our starting identity. We want to be, we're here to run the ball, and everything kind of plays off that. Now, we couldn't really always get it going. Sometimes it was a play call issue on my part. Sometimes it was an issue as far as just executing self-inflicted wound stuff. So, again, we'll be cleaner on that this week.
Hammer the rock. Give it to Pierce. They have to. It's going to help the offensive line out the more that they run the football. And I think they'll have a better time against Indy. And part of it's because of just a stereotype that I hold towards Colts defenses historically, because it always seemed like they were soft and fleet, like they were basically built as a complement to Peyton Manning. They were good pass rushers. You had Dwight Freeney, you had Robert Mathis, and up the middle, if you run the football on them, you're probably going to do pretty well. I still feel that way, even though obviously we're talking about a team that's 20 years ago. Yeah, 15 to 20 years ago. I still feel that way. If you took a look, Sean, at what the Jaguars were able to do Sunday against the Colts, I think Travis Etienne, who I think we're all still waiting to figure out what he actually is as a running back. I think he had 17 carries for 78 yards or something like that. It was a decent day, but they really didn't establish the run. They tried to throw the football a lot. It was Trevor Lawrence. It was Calvin Ridley. The Texans don't really have that kind of receiver for C.J. Stroud. I know a lot of people all of a sudden have big pants tents over Tank Dell running a route against nobody at practice, like it's training camp all over again. And I hope that Tank Dell actually has more of an impact in this game, but I'm kind of skeptical of that. They're going to win this game if they run the football. And I do think that this is going to be one of those games where the final score is not going to be pretty. I said 23-13. The Texans end up winning in this one. I do think this is a very favorable matchup for them. We did have a couple of texts in, 713-780-3776. One person texted in, if the Texans lose to the Colts, Nick Caserio has to be fired immediately.
Ooh, I like this. Must win.
I don't know if it's must win, but you did almost beat the Colts week 1 last year. The problem was Lovie Smith forgot that Kaimi Fairbairn is capable of kicking 50-plus yard field goals and didn't do one right before halftime. I remember, I don't know why he didn't do it. Kaimi Fairbairn left the locker room early, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, he must be pissed about it, because I would be pissed too. And, of course, the game ended in a tie because a lot of conservative BS that the Texans were doing at the end of that one. Very un-American. And then, of course, they won the last game of the year, too, the game they were supposed to lose with Davis Mills. You can go 1-0-1 against the Colts with Davis Mills under center and Lovie Smith as your head coach. Yeah, you should win this game.
Especially when you pick a quarter. It's a little bit like the Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner thing where you picked a quarterback right before they picked a quarterback, and you really hope that, I know it's early, but you really hope that you pick the better quarterback, at least, especially when the one you pass on is supposed to be the project. And if he's better already, then it gets ugly fast. I don't think his job is it. And Paul, I don't think Nick Caserio gets fired no matter what.
You don't?
No.
Damn.
I don't think he gets fired
dude.
on Monday.
Poor Marine says the Colts are a better team, so I don't get why everyone thinks the Texans will win. Texans have the better defense. I think if we learned anything from week 1, is that the Texans defense is a lot better. Will Anderson made an impact. I thought the defensive line was better. Even if Hassan Ridgway's out, like it's a better defense. Like they were missing some guys, and they still played pretty damn well. Like there was no Jimmy Ward. Jalen Petrie got hurt. No Blake Cashman. You're missing some guys, and still played pretty well.